I'm really excited that you are speaking with the Buckeye Review. And for those that may not know, I am speaking with the multifaceted, multi-talented, super intelligence. The titles go beyond Miss Aisha Bowe. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So I've done some research, and this is my first question. I really want to talk about breaking barriers because I think that you exude that. So, astronaut, rocket scientist, entrepreneur, mentor, media personality. I'm sure you're like, you do it all. You do it all. The question is that I'm going to ask for you is how? What makes Aisha tick?
I'm driven by the concept of impact. A lot of what you see that I do is directly in response to things that happened to me during my journey that I felt were unfair or unjust, or that I wish I had the opportunity to change.
Hmm.
And my first kind of example of this is my academic career. I find that we as a society place a lot of pressure on people to know what it is that they want to be before they know who they are. And there's this idea that if you're not high performing when you are 12 or 13 or 14, that for whatever reason, you're not going to be high performing when you are an adult. And it's
Hmm.
just not true. People grow, people change. There are external considerations. And so when you see the community college to aerospace engineering to NASA part of my journey, that is me saying, I see what you, society, think of me, but I am more than what's on paper. I am more than the opportunities that are currently afforded to me. And in fact, I'm going to demonstrate to you through things that you think are unlikely to occur that I am not the only person that's capable of these things. I'm, in fact, an indication that there are a lot of people who could be high achieving if they received different feedback, different advice, or solely only thought about what it was that they wanted to achieve, as opposed to what other people said that they could achieve.
Hmm. I agree with that. And I read somewhere that initially you had a former educator tell you that you need to go one route in your professional endeavors, and now you are that's like completely the other way. Like,
Yeah,
how did that come about? What was that feeling like?
so I just want to be clear that I am not above lightly shading with some good receipts. And
Mm,
so my high school guidance counselor had suggested that I become a beautician. And it's not that I'm not into that. It's not that I think that that career wouldn't have been a good choice, but it's the idea that that was all that she
mm,
thought that I could be. And I remember going to work at NASA, and someone kind of said to me, maybe you should send something about your journey back to the school because you're being recognized for the things that you do.
wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I'm going to keep doing that because I want to remind counselors that their words have power and that when you speak over someone, you should be careful and you should be mindful that they may actually think that they're limited by what it is that you say. And so I've really made it a point in my home community to not only share my story, but I'm actively involved. I actually started an endowment at the community college level to pay for 2 years of technical education. It's called the
Wow.
Aisha Bowe Power Scholarship. And you can then go with your technical community college education
Mm-hmm.
and you can pursue a 4 year degree. And it is targeted at the University of Michigan, where I went. But it's only the beginning of what I'm looking to do with taking cost out of education and really trying to have things that far outlive my tenure on earth that stand as living testimonies to the story, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
only really good stories last. I want people to know that they should not be limited by what others think is possible for them and that they should also not be limited by what they think is possible for themselves. If you have
Right.
a dream and it doesn't scare you, dream bigger.
Right, right. I think that kind of pivots me into the next question that I have. So, of course, you were working for NASA, and now you have another title of being the first African American woman to go into space, see the stars, see everything with Blue Origin. How is that? How is that? How are you owning that title? I will say.
Well, the thing for me is when I hear that, I'm thrilled, I'm honored, I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and I am not doing this alone.
Hmm.
This is a community achievement. There are women who have laid the path for decades in order for me to be here. And what I really am focused on is the legacy elements. Who is it that I'm going to inspire around the world to reach for the stars and to participate not just in space programs, but in living their best life? There was a documentary that was shot in Kenya where I was teaching how to create a launch countdown timer to Kenyan students who lived in a village 4 hours outside of Nairobi. And if you listen to what they're saying in Swahili, it essentially boils down to, I come from a place that has not launched someone into space, that does not have a space program, but I believe because Aisha did it, I can do it too. And that's
Mm.
really what I stand for. I just finished a 2-week tour through India, backed by the United States State Department. I have given over 6 in-country tours from Mongolia to Israel to South Africa to Kyrgyzstan. And they are exporting me to the world because this is not just about me. This is about women. This is about equity. This is about inspiration. And this is about encouraging people to take advantage of the future by participating in it actively now.
Hmm. I like that. I like that a lot. So talk to me a little bit about your, I guess, like venture into mentorship, especially when it comes to technology and STEM. I know you have other businesses in regards to that when it comes to like lingo. So what was the inspiration beside out that led to those causes?
When I started working for NASA, I absolutely loved my job.
Right.
And I would go out into the community and I would want to talk about what I did. And what I found was that the perception didn't match the reality,
Mm,
meaning as though students would see me and they're like, there's no way you work for NASA. There's no way. They did not match what I looked like with that particular role. And what I realized was that simply by showing up, by participating in these events, students would say, oh, I decided that maybe I should try mechatronics or engineering, or maybe I should try to become a pilot. They started to see that it was possible and that it was achievable and that you didn't have to be perfect. You just needed to be persistent.
hmm.
And I started to say, well, wait a second. If I have the power to change someone's outlook, to inform how they think about themselves in the future, then this is something that I want to do. And I want to have it be part of what I do here on Earth, right? It's part of
Right.
my sole purpose. And there was a 13-year-old girl who I ran into named Claire. I was speaking at an aviation museum day in my capacity as a NASA aerospace engineer. And I will abbreviate the story, but today, that
Hmm.
13-year-old went from seeing me in that environment and saying she wanted to be an aerospace engineer to visiting me with my invitation to come visit me at work, to interning for NASA, to graduating with an aerospace engineering degree. And now she's an engineer on the rocket engine for the very same company that I'm going to fly. And
Wow.
so I have been able to support her career the entire time. And when I gave that tour through India, I talked about her story and I told people you don't have to wait until you graduate to be successful. You don't have to wait until you graduate in order to get involved, right? You can intern, you
Hmm.
can do all kinds of things. You just have to know that at whatever age you're in, you need to take control of what it is that you want for your future and know that you're supposed to be there. Because that 13-year-old came to NASA with a NASA binder. She had questions. She didn't question whether or not she was supposed to be there. She was questioning whether or not that was the environment for what she wanted her future to be.
Right.
And now I'm standing with her and I'm saying, what else can I do if I am able to project my image in the story around the world? And so that became Lingo, which is a self-paced coding kit that was created 2 years ago as a spin-off of the work we had been doing for years. It is a
Hmm.
venture-backed company, and we have now serviced nearly 10,000 students in 10 countries. And it is my goal to be one of the premier providers of hands-on STEM experiences for ages 13 plus that exposes them to STEM concepts in fun and engaging ways. And outside of that, this mission, the space mission, which is what you originally asked about, for me is about how can I take this story and how can I inspire the world? Because the people who I mentor do not just look like me. I have
Mm,
mentees who are men. I have people who are Americans. I have people who are Kenyans. I have people who are Nigeria. I have people who are in India. I have people all around the world who are looking and saying, this is a model of inspiration that not only do I want to follow, but I can emulate.
love it. I love that. I love that. And so like your impact is global. And I feel like, with Black women coming up in STEM, sometimes it may be looked at as just regional, it's just within the US of A, but your impact and your story is touching those around the world. Do you feel any type of pressure in that regard that you have so many people looking up to you, counting on you to make or continue to make a mark?
I more or less feel a sense of privilege and
Mm,
honor and determination. The
mhm.
thing about me and my story is that I give it to you straight, no
Right,
chaser, right? I am not sitting here telling you that I'm a perfect person. What I will tell you is where I think I did well and where I think I did not so well. I used to put my GPA on the slide so that the students could really see all those bad grades and let them know that I did not perform.
right.
I had to abbreviate it a little bit because they would get consumed by all the bad grades. But
Hmm.
I wanted to remind them that most students, when they hear me, are further ahead in life than where I was when I was their age. So you hear me talking to you about what I did, go do more.
Right.
And that is something that I have put out open calls to other people to do. We often see these individuals and they're CEOs and they're celebrities and they're this and they're that. And we see the highlight reel. We see the rock that someone just spent 10 years polishing. But I want you to see all things so that
Hmm.
you can fully understand that sometimes success is incredibly nonlinear. Sometimes it feels like you are involved in a setback, but really it could be the prequel to the best season of your life. You don't know, but you really need to own it all. And if you can share it all, then I don't
Right.
necessarily feel any stress or pressure about that. All I'm doing is sharing what it is that's happened to me in the hopes that it can lead to a better you.
I love that. And like I can tell like on your social media is very diverse because of course you wear like a lot of hats. And a lot of people, especially now with like Gen Z, the main focus is becoming an influencer and just having, that presence online, which is that's not a bad thing. However, I think stories like yours really prove or become a testament that you can, there's different lanes that you can take in regards to
You know,
that. So
I saw something online that made me laugh, and it said, what if TikTok went away and you were no longer a
mm,
model? And you were no longer a model. I understand the power of being able to tell stories online, but we cannot forsake the power of being able to tell stories in real life.
right,
And so I always like to encourage people to try to do both, right? To
right,
participate in the world. One of the things that I really appreciate about me is that I'm able to do things that have a lot of meaning without having to have, per se, a million followers, because what I do in the real world
right,
matters. It's not just I want to create content. What you see is the byproduct of something that it is that I've done, right? So if you see a story and I'm in India, it's because I just gave a keynote and I'm here and I'm investing in the environment. If you see that I'm doing an interview with Inc. magazine, it's because I built a couple multi-million-dollar businesses, which were not glamorous, which you did not see on Instagram, but I'm able to actually hold my own in a conversation and talk about it, right? So what people are seeing is they're seeing the derivatives of the work. Go
hmm,
do the work. There is really no replacement for hard work.
right. And I think that one of my favorite things that I see is your transition. You wear many hats and like even being a media personality. But what I love about that is that you're able to tell your story and kind of sit back and allow people to tell their story, working with Inc. for your next move. Talk about how that happened and just that feeling that you get when you speak to, fellow colleagues that, have a seat at the table or have worked just as hard to get to their place in their respective careers.
I was really delighted and honored when Inc. approached me with the opportunity because there is no playbook for what
Mm,
it is that I do. I am the only person that has ever founded and ran these businesses. And I often find that the best education comes from talking to other people that have done it or done some variation of it. And so to be able to run the spectrum between a Brianna Arps, who was a Black Ambition Prize winner and who was raised non-dilutive capital, to sitting with Mark Laurie, who's an interview that is getting ready to come out. That gentleman sold his first business for $550 million.
mm,
He sold his second business for a few $1 billion to Walmart and raised $700 million, right? That education was afforded to me by Inc. through these conversations that people have the opportunity to watch online for free. And I encourage them, go listen. I even got to talk to makeup mogul Bobby Brown, and I got to thank her for
amazing.
making sure that my face matched my neck in high school, right? Love that, right? That's a
Right.
high school dream come true. But to your point, the thing about Inc. for me was getting down to there is no set playbook for success. There are guidelines, there are ideas, but ultimately it is what you make of it. And
Mm,
the education that I got through being able to have these conversations was something that, I hold close, but was also a way of me showcasing that for whatever reason, we like to try to put people in boxes. And the reality of it is that, yes, I happen to be an aerospace engineer, but I also like fashion. I also like to travel. I also can have a conversation and moderate and I can host. And what I want to do is get away from this idea that people fit in boxes. I
hmm
don't know anybody that fits in a box, right? I want to open the aperture of what people think about when they think about women in STEM, because STEM to me is limiting. All fields are STEM fields, right? We are
Right.
literally rapidly automating nearly every single vertical in the market right now in some way. We're
Mm,
integrating technology, GPT, AI, whatever, whatnot. And
right.
so I see all fields as STEM fields. And I look at myself as a person of the future, right? I am the example for me of what I think most women are, which are multi-hyphenate, multifaceted.
You touched on there are no rules in success, but there are guidelines. But I will ask if you can give advice to a younger woman who's looking to just not really sure what it is that she may want to do, but is being pushed into a certain direction, what would you tell that person?
I would tell them to make decisions that give them more options.
Hmm. Okay.
When I look on my own career, right? I love what I do. I love aerospace engineering, but you're looking at somebody who's running two multi-million-dollar companies without a business degree. And why is that? That's because I have a foundation in analytical thought that came from my engineering degrees. I was
hmm
trained how to think, and there are no shortage of hard problems in this world to solve. And so when you're thinking about careers, gone are the days of people graduating and going into something for 40 years. If that suits you, fine. But we right now are watching jobs and how we work and industries transform. So what you really need to be able to do is rock and roll with it. And so make the decision that puts you in where you want to be for 4 or 5 years. Like I
Mm.
literally wake up and I will plan what it is that I want to do every year. And I will change what I am every 5 years, right? So for, you know, what, 6 years I was at NASA. And then I left NASA. I've been running STEMBoard for 11 years, but then I decided I wanted to found another company about 3 years ago, and I'm doing that. And now
hmm
I'm on the mission to space. But
Right.
all of this is because I made the decisions that gave me more options. I decided that I was going to not decide to be something static, but always be dynamic.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's good advice just for not just for young girls, but even for people that are looking to pivot within their career and they may just feel stuck in a way. Um,
But, and I have
yeah.
other couple pieces of unsolicited advice. I think that there is a focus on having people mentor you who are a lot like you. And I
Mm,
think you need to have a board of advisors with people who are not like you at all. Some of the
okay.
strongest mentors that I've had in my life are what would be considered to be the traditional set. And the things that they have taught me have been absolutely incredible. And they have allowed me to be the person that I am today. And
Mm,
so actively seek out people who do not have your background. They may not even share your culture, they may not share your values, but I promise you, you can learn something from them.
mm. Okay. All right. I really think that's great advice. And last but certainly not least, I mean, because you do so much, and we know that we're just going to continue to watch and support you and cheer you on from afar. What can we look forward to from
I
Aisha?
will, I think the thing that I am the most looking forward to is seeing the Earth from space. So
Mm,
we can look forward to that. I think we can look forward to me doing that in an inclusive way that is not only global, but that leverages some of the very same causes that I care to impact here in the United States, as well as the Caribbean, because my father is from the Bahamas and I do quite a
okay.
bit to elevate the Caribbean and the Bahamas as well. And I would like to be the premier provider of STEM resources and
Mm,
ensuring that there is representation for women and people in technology in the schools. It's not for me about being a Black woman. It's about being a person who's
mm,
talented, who is technical, who happens to also be African American, and who has a message to share. Because when you start to teach something, first of all, someone has to humble themselves to learn from you. They have to recognize that you have value in order for them to be taught. And
correct.
what we're seeing in our school system is that we don't necessarily have, through no fault of the academic system, right? But we may not have a wide range of culturally relevant role models. So if I can
Mm,
bring that through our technology platform and help support the teachers and help support the workforce of the future, then that is something that I'm not only excited to do, but I'm excited to do that as part of my campaign to space.
I love that. I think that's great. I'm excited for you. I think that's you said seeing the Earth from space. And I kind of was like kind of thinking about it, like, what does that even look like? So I'm really excited. And I hope that you're able to just share your journey. I don't know what it is when it comes to like social media up there and how that will work, but
Well,
I'm
that's
going to be paying
why,
attention.
this is where I make the rapid plug for like follow me on IG, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm documenting the
Hmm.
journey. I did some training last week and it was the first time that I put on a pressurized
Ooh,
spacesuit. And I was so excited and I love the acrobatics in the aircraft. And so there will be a lot of really interesting content coming from me. So I'll make a plug for that, right? Follow me online.
absolutely. Well, you guys heard it. You heard it. You heard it. You heard it first. Thank you, Aisha, so much for speaking with me. And I really do look forward to the Buckeye Review readers seeing this video and reading the piece. And we just want to say congratulations on all your success. And we're just looking forward to cheering you on from afar.
Thank you.